Nassar, thank you so much for joining me. It's an absolute joy to talk with you. Nassar, you're the CEO and co-founder of Rogue City Hotels. And I understand that that's the sort of umbrella brand that manages the Henley's portfolio of luxury boutique hotels. And I'm delighted to talk to you about this because I appreciate you are an internationally recognized sort of hospitality expert. You hold an MBA. You definitely know what you're talking about when it comes to luxury hotels. Now, I'm interested to ask you what persuaded you to start Rogue City, and also why did you call it Rogue City? It's a brilliant name.
First of all, good afternoon, Lauren. Thank you very much for having me on your show this afternoon. It's good to be here, and thank you for the opportunity. I get asked this question quite regularly, actually, and it kind of confirms the reason why I've gone with the name Rogue City. When I thought of starting this new portfolio of hotels, I thought of a brand that is a challenger brand that is completely the opposite of your traditional hotel proposition. And for a brand to be a challenger brand that would disrupt the current kind of norms of traditional hotels, whereby I don't just want to create another portfolio of hotels that seem to me like just another vanilla add-on into the landscape of hotels within the UK and even abroad. I decided to come up with a name that would basically, in as many words, explain what I'm trying to do. So if you like, I went rogue, and as a result, I came up with the name Rogue City. And it basically kind of says what it does. Almost what you see on the tin is what you get. I don't want any of my hotels to be just another hotel on the high street. I want my hotels to be very unique, in fact, very specific in many ways, and almost providing an alternative to the traditional. So if you walk through a high street, you have 3 or 4 hotels that are very much providing the same kind of standards as you would have, maybe with a few differences between them. But I want the main alternative to be a Rogue City hotel. And as we go along in the chat that we're having, you would kind of get a feel as to why we would be different and why the name Rogue fits in with actually what I'm trying to achieve.
And one of the things I love a lot is when you go onto your website, the first thing you see is this wonderful motto, and I assume the ethos for the business is that the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others, which is just is wonderful. And service is something I know is very close to your heart, and obviously the center of our industry. So how does Rogue City position themselves on service, and what are your thoughts about service?
A very good point, because everyone in today's market talks about service excellence. You get the best service if you stay with us. We're different. You know, it's all about service, but actually you need to follow the substance behind it. For us at Rogue City, service means a lot more than just the word service. We have created, or if you like, my vision for the brand is a guest-centric brand wherein we place the guest in the middle of everything that we do. What do I mean by that? That in itself as a statement doesn't say much really. But what I mean by that is whatever we design in our hotels is designed around the guest experience, the guest journey, from the time you make a booking, or even from the point you contact one of my hotels to the moment you check out. It needs to be an experience like no other. What do I mean by that? You need to make sure what they get is tailor-made to what they want. So for example, you know, you can check in before you arrive in any of our hotels. You don't have to spend more than 60 seconds at check-in. It's one of our I like to think, very great USPs that no other hotel would assure you of. But I do not want a guest to spend more than 60 seconds in reception. So we've provided a situation whereby we're there, we would serve every guest as much as they would like us to serve them, but at the same time, we're not in your face. Each of my properties is technology rich to the extent that whatever and wherever we can use technology to enable an experience that would be a memorable one for guests, we have done so. From the fact that before you arrive, you already received a link to check in. When you arrive, the whole process, as I said, takes no more than 60 seconds. You'll be taken to your room. Your room would provide a lot more than what a standard hotel would have, from the fact that you can control your climate in your room via your TV system, to the fact that you can control your lighting through your TV. You can use Alexa voice activation points within the room to call reception. You can basically use your telephone to open your door, so you don't have to have these plastic key cards. I want my hotels not just to be luxurious, but with a purpose, so that when you go there, the luxury is not in your face, but you'll actually feel it at every touch point. And I want every touch point within your stay in the hotel to be an experience like no other. So if your phone is going to open your bedroom door, why would your phone not be able to link up with the amenities in the room, so that you feel like, and it's that whole that old cliche, home away from home. But in our hotels, we really want you to feel like it's your second home. Your phone will open the main door. You would have a 24/7 reception if you need it. Equally, you'll be able to be independent and use your TV system to access what we call our e-concierge room directory. That is almost like a concierge intranet, but you really don't have to be bothered by someone telling you things. In your own time, you can explore the system. We also, as a result of our concept, ensures that we put communities at the center of what we do. So, for example, we serve as a micro multiplier for the local area. So rather than me and my team or my hotels trying to do everything that we want to do to take every pound and pence from our guests, we actually work with the local area to ensure that we provide a means by which our guests can use the amenities that are close by. So we don't necessarily need to have a restaurant in any of our hotels. We have arrangements with a multitude of outlets that provide food and cafes, bars, and the like, that would provide a service second to none. Because you've got to remember, these businesses are proud of what they provide, and they do that best. Now, I don't want to be jack of all trade, doing everything within the envelope of my hotel. If I can get my guests to experience the local area, whether it be the local gym, the local cafe, the local bar, the nearest French restaurant, all of this is also available at their fingertips. So if they go to the TV system and they fancy, let's say, Italian tonight, our system will be able to tell them the 5 nearest Italian restaurants, the rating of each of those restaurants, what they get if they go to that restaurant, the sort of arrangement the hotel has in place with that particular outlet. And again, we don't do this as a company to benefit anything from it, apart from giving our guests the best of both worlds. So you stay in our hotel, the price you think you pay when you check in is exactly what you pay at checkout. No nasty experiences in your bill, no overcharges, no extra charges. We charge you for the common commodity, which is accommodation. Everything else thereafter, your phone calls from the room are free. The service we provide is not chargeable. We don't charge for things like Wi-Fi or extras or anything like that. It all comes as part of this. Is why my ethos for my vision is based on 3 kind of key components. Pricing transparency, so we don't try and kind of use every touch point in the hotel as an opportunity to make extra money. I remember when I was working for other hotel groups, we were trained those days, every time a guest touched on the minibar, charge them 3 times as much. Every time a guest picks up a telephone handset from the room those days to make a call, charge them 3 times as much. You have an opportunity to make money. But what those hotel companies then did not realize is, you might make a few pounds this time, but that guest is going to leave really unhappy, feeling ripped off, and they will never come back. And just try and quantify what you lose as a result of that. Now, that has changed with time because you've now got portals like TripAdvisor, and people cannot get away with those things anymore. Guests can basically experience, tell their experiences on portals easily. But just going back to the question, the premise of the question, for my concept, it needs to be different, and it needs to feel different, and it needs to make a difference to a guest. So we've talked about the technology side of it. We're talking about the service side of it. We're now talking about the community side of it, which basically means your pricing is transparent. We don't make any more than we need to make. You need to let the guests know they're independent. We go back to what we talked about. Your telephone will open the main door, will open your bedroom door. Your e-concierge will tell you everything you want to know, from the nearest post office to the nearest ATM machine. So you've got your transparency there, you've got your independence there, and finally, you've got flexibility. What I mean by that is you do not have to hide that bottle of wine underneath your jacket when you're coming in, because someone in reception is going to ask you, oh, I'm sorry, that wine wasn't bought from the hotel bar, and therefore you cannot consume it. You actually walk in with pride and say, well, I've just gone to the nearest grocery store, and I've just got myself a whole bunch of drinks. I'm now going to my room. I've got what I call a mini kitchen in the room, which is no more than 1 meter by 600 deep. It's not a kitchen where you can cook in, but we offer that extra flexibility so that if you choose to dine in your room, you've got a fridge there, you've got a microwave. If you don't need it, you don't even notice it's in your suite. But if you want it, it's there for you. So again, we're giving control to our guests so that the guest decides, rather than being forced to buy breakfast from the hotel, or they must dine in the hotel restaurant. They now have control to choose how they want to spend that evening without having to worry about, you know, if I call reception for an extra piece of cutlery, I might be questioned, why do you need that? So you give that to a guest, and therefore it's basically turning the concept of luxury on its head without you having to, you know, do all of the uptight things that luxury hotels have to do these days, because, you know, the travel has evolved, and your designing guests these days do not necessarily want what guests 15 years ago would have liked. So we have to evolve, and I think what I'm providing in the scene is something that I personally believe that today's guests would want, more than just, you know, the traditional experience that hotels have come to provide time and again. I'm sorry, that's the short version.
In a very small nutshell, that was brilliant. Well, no, and I mean, you've touched on some very valid points. I mean, the pandemic pulled out the fact that communities they are essential. We are part of them, and we have to maintain them. And it's wonderful that as a hotel, you've realized that that is a great way to support, and that people want real experiences. People want to immerse themselves. I think we've been stuck behind, you know, Zoom calls and indoors for a long time. A lot of research is coming out saying that guests want to be immersed. They want to be immersed in real experiences. So facilitating that, it's a win-win. And I totally understand why local businesses would be then supportive of you, because you are being supportive of them. So it does make perfect sense. And you're right, from a rogue and challenging, having that affordable luxury, I always think that that is the best oxymoron ever, because they just don't go together. But definitely putting a kitchen or kitchen space in a luxury room is rogue. It's not the norm.
There you have it, Lauren. That's precisely why we're doing it. But I think you've just described it so well. It is rogue, and it's got to be rogue. And enough of the same old, same old. I wanted to bring something to the market that is very unique and very different. But also, most important of all, I wanted luxury to be redefined. I wanted to deconstruct what luxury in the traditional sense means. Now, in the old days, luxury refers to velvety padded headboards and your credenza that has so many drawers in it, and you know, a makeup glass or mirror in front of it that one would expect, plus all of the, you know, the little ottomans that you have in rooms. And that there's nothing wrong with that. There's a market for that. But what I'm trying to do here is provide what guests want. This is a tried and tested, as far as I'm concerned, with my many years of experience. I know that, for example, guests are not looking to dine in restaurants that are in city center locations within the hotel. They want to go out for the day. They want to experience different cuisines. They want to come back into the hotel and relax, not kind of stay in the hotel day and night. And to that extent, I have come to the conclusion that F&B, food and beverage, is actually in city center locations. It may be an add-on, but it's an add-on that comes at a price for guests who don't necessarily use it. What I mean by that is, by having those extra spaces within a hotel that guests don't otherwise use, you have to subsidize the staff and the amenities in those areas by charging more for your accommodation, because that's the common commodity that every guest would pay for. Why would I do that? If I can get rid of those spaces and pass on that saving to my guests, but without compromising on the facility in every room. So you don't compromise on the technology, you don't compromise on the comfort of the bed, you don't compromise on the design of the room, you don't compromise on putting the guest in the middle of that comfort. Why would they care whether you have a restaurant in the hotel or not? Frankly speaking, from my point of view, they don't. And therefore, you are able then to charge guests for what they use. We go back to this transparency in pricing, so you don't have to charge more to pay all of this extra payroll costs that you carry, from chefs to waiters and all the rest of it. So I find that if I'm in a city center location, let the people who are passionate about restaurants do restaurants. Let the people who are passionate about running their businesses have something to do with it. Why do I want to squeeze every penny out of the guests when I can share and act as an economic multiplier for the area? And it has worked time and again where it's tried and tested. And I'm just perfecting that concept to make sure that I disrupt the traditional to the maximum, because I think guests deserves more these days. You know, going back to COVID and what has happened since, and the changes that we're now experiencing in terms of supply chain, in terms of prices going up, inflation. Now, someone has to pay for this. And unfortunately, just as we've seen a different example at the petrol pumps today, and all of the other food-related inflation prices, hotels are not immune to this. All of our supplies would go up in costs, and what will happen traditionally is that hotels will pass on that in their room prices and so on, because they would otherwise not sustain it. So you then have a scenario where you either have the very budget brands that would give you nothing but a box room with a bed in it and 4 walls and a window, or you will have the luxury end that will have to charge you an arm and a leg to stay in those hotels, forced by the current climate, the economic climate. Now, the beauty of my concept is, because I do not have all of these extra overheads, I do not have all of these loss-making zones within the envelope of my hotels. I don't have to subsidize a kitchen. I don't have to subsidize waiting staff or utility bills within the restaurant area and so on. I'm actually able to adapt my prices to the extent that I can still keep the prices that we charge without making so much of a loss, because at the end of the day, my margins may be smaller, but my guests would not suffer as a result. So before you know it, that disruptive brand and concept I'm talking about would sit right in the middle between the two extremes of very expensive prices for the very luxury traditional hotels that carry all of these extra costs otherwise you would have to downgrade to a pretty basic bedroom in some sort of budget hotel that you're not used to. So why not come in the middle and occupy the space that would be left by this kind of departing forces, this vacuum that is created by two forces departing from each other, one at the very top end of pricing, one so much as a budget. But my concept allows me to sit in a snug in the middle of these two propositions.
Well, again, going rogue in the white space in
Precisely.
the middle. Absolutely.
Yes.
And I suppose the other direction you went rogue in is, while the rest of the world was, in the middle of a pandemic, not diversifying, not growing, you were already getting additional funds, planning new hotels, and you've got one. I know you keep saying as a concept, but you have one in real life, and you've got a really healthy pipeline with a few ready to be open by the end of the year. So how on earth did you go rogue on the banks?
Yes, exactly. Going rogue, it's becoming my second name, and I'm very proud to carry that badge. Yes, I mean, when COVID started, and we all know it's public knowledge that most hotels fear for the worst. You have hotels closing, you have banks taking over hotels, you have hotel projects that started kind of been mothballed because they cannot find the funds, because banks have pulled out, their funders have pulled out after acceptance in credit terms. And so it was very difficult for majority of hotels out there. I have, colleagues that have lost their businesses as a result. I've had people that have sold, at rock bottom prices to move out of the space, but not for me. I saw that as an opportunity to thrive. And what we did there was to make sure that we break a record by being probably one of the very few hoteliers to be able to secure a huge amount of money to actually continue my vision of delivering many more hotels. So whilst a lot of banks had a moratorium on borrowing for hospitality businesses, given my track record, what I've done in the industry, and what is there for people to see as precedents, I basically was able to secure in excess of £35 million to do my next two projects. In fact, both of those hotels will be launched at the end of this year. One of them is 100 keys in Glasgow, the other one is just under 70 keys in the center of Cambridge. And I've got another property which construction will commence shortly in the city of Perth in Scotland, and followed by a property in London. So, I'm not holding back. Where others see a challenge, I see it as an opportunity, and so far so good. And we will continue to expand, because I strongly believe that this is a phase that would fizzle out at some point, and whoever is able to survive this wave of challenges would be able to get stronger, and their business model, if managed properly, should be able to do better in 10 years' time.
It sounds a bit more like thrive than survive that you're after, and considering what you've been up to.
Absolutely. In my case, it is thrive, and it's a perfect opportunity. It's the ultimate opportunity for me to be able to get a funder to believe in me and to lend me what I need to carry on with my vision. And there's no stopping me now. Hopefully COVID is out of the way on the whole, and I can keep on thriving. And my target is to get to 15 to 20 hotels in the next 10 to 15 years. So I'm really pushing ahead, and I hope and believe that I'll get there before long, because in a space of 3 years I'm now at hotel number 5. So hopefully before long I will be talking to you and say, Lauren, we are hotel number 10, and then number 15.
It seems that the pandemic has been a positive thing for you rather than a negative thing for you. And you've gone rogue when everyone else was, like I say, struggling. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. That's very kind, but you're absolutely right. You just described it so well, better than I could ever put it myself.
Nassar, you're wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today, and I wish you all the very best. I can't wait to come and enjoy some of your affordable luxury. It sounds fabulous.
Lauren, as soon as those hotels are ready, you'll be one of the first to experience what I've been talking about in real life at the soft opening of one of my hotels. So watch out for the invitation. And thanks again for having me today. It's been a pleasure catching up with you.
Absolute pleasure is mine. Thank you so much. Wishing you all the best.
You too. Bye for now. Bye-bye.